I'll get you.
Thanks.
How are you, dear?
I'd like to call to order the Beaver County Board of Commissioners work session for Wednesday, September 2nd. We have a review of work session discussion meeting minutes. No questions or changes. None. Department head report.
Well, spent some time out at Economy Park. Hopefully, I think we came up with to actually fix the landslide for that kind of money. To access those two shelters, something that I do want to discuss with Tim. A lot of things to discuss. We'll get together soon. Discuss these things. It's going to affect a little bit of the golf. So I'll schedule something with Mr. Caltorti. You guys want to take a ride out there, someone take a ride out there. We can have to show you what the plans are.
Do you think that would be the best option? I mean, rather than fixing it at that full price, that's probably the next best thing to do. When you look at doing that, the process of it, would it be us getting an engineer on board or somebody to do the drawings and then put that out for? You're gonna have to put that out for a bid. I would still think it's going to be a decent amount of money. Or
It's going to go out for bid. It's always nice to have an engineer to be involved, fall back on someone. But I've been cost or
again, is that what you'd recommend? I mean, you can't just put, hey, we want to put a road out 100 yards for bid. It'll have to be some kind of actual spec. Okay.
The other thing is, I finally got a response from a contractor for the foundation. For I have numbers from by this evening. I asked him how far, probably 3 weeks to a month out before he can work for us. In that time, I'll try to continue to get prices and get people coming. But I don't understand what's going on. People don't want to work. I get it, but
With this heavy rain we just had, was it? Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions for Dan? Any other department head report? Tim?
Nothing you can let me know that on that slide. The whole thing I have been I haven't heard from PennDOT that they got a hard date on it to start. But that was what we're keeping. I can do any work in PennDOT. They're pushing them out. We're not keeping like they're pushing them out a week. For the time to get them moving. So I would expect, I don't have a hard date, but I think probably sometime after Labor Day, they're probably going to start different. I think they're probably going to double up on shifts. Then we'll need to get it done before November, which is what we do. Maybe a date there, if they said we just can't get it done. September 8th, next Tuesday, a week from yesterday, we opened the ice arena. Got to get some information out of it. We got it on our website. We have it on our Facebook page. So that is informed, and just we try to educate inform the public on what our protocols are going to be coming in. Using the facility. So I think that like any other organization or business, we're going to have people that are just going to be educated. That's how it works, and that's going to be our crazy, probably at least the month of September, if not partially in October. We've got different things starting at different times as we get towards the colder weather. Some like hockey will start, bigger stadiums will start right away. Others will start near the end of the month. Tennis will come in middle of October, 30th of October, once the weather starts to break. So you have different groups that just are coming in and won't be paying attention to the rules. And we'll be monitoring what the CDC and the state has on regards to the order that's out there, and looking to try to increase the ability to bring people into the building as quickly as we can, but then we'll get into the rules on at this point in time. When you take a look at the building, the hockey arena is zone A, if you will. There'll be 25 people in that building. Okay? The tennis walking group is zone B. And then the lobby's more of a transition area, because we're not allowing people to gather and hang out. They come in, they go to their activity, they kind of leave and they go. So the chances of, I'm going to have to monitor this, of us having more than 25 people at one time for any extended period of time in that lobby is probably real low percentages. So I'm thinking it's just a pass-through zone. So looking at that, I've spoken with all the ice user groups. I'm just now engaging the tennis professionals. The challenge, the ice side, I'm not too concerned about, other than again, at least some family members and people that are looking to kind of have more than 25, and that's, we're seeing that all over the place in regards to sports. On the tennis side, we're only going to have 2 tennis courts going, which would allow us to have 4 students and an instructor. That'd be 10 people on the tennis courts, which would allow us a cap of 15 on the walkers. That's 25 people for that building. And that's going to be the bigger net to try to manage. Not sure how that's going to go. You know, we've got groups that come in that think that they have, certain groups come in and want to have lunch there, and we're going to be changing their behavior in regards to what they can and can't do. So, you know, that side of it's going to be that constant trying to remind them and educate them and tell them what we're doing and how we're operating along those lines. I would like to think that I'll have less headaches on the other side at this point in time than I will have on the tennis whenever they start coming in. Because you have the VTA group, which we work with in regards to the partnership we've had for years. You've got permanent court time and you've got private lessons. That's the first tier. That's where the bulk of our tennis is coming from. And then you have the very occasional, once a month or once every other month, a high school or school type of situation, or you have a league and you have walk-ins. Which again, we're discouraging walk-ins. We're telling them we have the court will sell to them, but we're going to encourage them to put in a reservation so we know how to manage the traffic as best we can. Over a period of time, I think that'll fall into place. But you know, if the rules change again, it's all up in the air for us. You know, changing on the fly like we need to.
What is the occupancy on the hockey side? I would assume it's occupancy per fire code, Garen, when they talk about occupancy.
There will be that. Well, you know, the bleachers hold 750. I know that side. I don't know that we've ever actually had a fire occupancy code for that building that I've ever been able to find along those lines. So, I mean, you look at the square footage, 40,000 square feet in that building. If you divide by 36, it's like 1,100 people.
So, are we telling? You probably know I'm going to ask this question. Are we telling the hockey leagues a certain number of people are allowed on the ice?
25 people.
Where did you get that number from?
That is the number that came out of July 15th Department of Health state guideline in regards to indoor activities.
Okay, so Jack, I know you were copied on that email from this weekend. A gentleman reached out to us and said, please provide some guidance on Governor Wolf's green phase restrictions. Parents, youth hockey players being told a maximum of 25 players allowed on ice at a time. Mm-hmm. However, the green phase guidance states indoor recreation can have up to 50% occupancy, but appointments recommended for fitness facilities.
The green phase was done before July 15th update. So again, it's timing. It's like when people are looking at the information and what they're using as their benchmark along those lines. USA Hockey, PAHL have sent letters out, and most of these groups, whether they be PAHL, which is under USA Hockey, or our adult leagues, which is under USA Hockey, and PIHL, which is under USA Hockey, basically sent a memo out saying, we sent all your presidents this email telling them to communicate this with you, is that if you have more than 20, if your rink allows you to have more than 25 people in there, and understand that your leagues and practices will not be sanctioned, and any insurance issues are 100% on you. They're not going to insure them. We ask for insurance along those lines. They sent that email out to them, telling them from the governing body that that's what they were. That was their position.
Who will not insure them? I'm sorry.
Their own insurance company. Clubs through those leagues.
Typically insures all of the they provide us a certificate of insurance to cover them.
Okay.
Underneath that side.
So are you explaining this to the
everyone?
Okay.
But are they communicating it down to the people? That's usually what breaks down. That's the challenge we have in operating our facility, is the fact that we're relying, because it's not our program, for them to pass it in, and I've been giving them for weeks now this information as to what it is. There's just, I answered 8 emails this weekend of people asking me the same question.
So if these individuals aren't worried about being insured by USA Hockey or whoever, I mean, do we have the right to let them have more individuals on the ice at one time or no? Is that a recommendation from the state, or is that
That's still
guidance, or
where
is
we're
that?
at. I mean, I think it's the confusing area where the governor says it's 25 people.
I don't know anything about hockey. So how many people are on ice at once in hockey? 12 each side, or just 12? And then two referees. I know volleyball's having a tough time right now with the way they're doing it. They're going to have 25 in the gym, they're saying, and they're going to start putting people out in the hallways, the subs out in the hallways. So whenever they go to break, subs are going to come in and they're going to go out.
The way the order was written was basically, if you have a floor-to-ceiling wall, and you can isolate the building, it's its own building along those lines. So inside that, that's why Zone A, Zone B, and the way they have it set it up to go down that path. Again, the rule is it's 25 people, and the governing bodies, when you look at the position papers they came out with, typically in the first paragraph, not the first 2, it says CDC and state orders are what we're going to follow, is what they tell them in that document. So they're already going down that path. The Department of Health has said this is how it is. And I sent them that. I sent them the link for the whole document, and I cut out the 4 sections that were the most important, and just gave them a kind of a footnote type of situation. So you have to go searching for it. Again, no one likes it. We want to get to more people, but at this point in time, that's what they're saying for indoor recreation.
And one thing that we talked about, I know because I told you I got a couple calls on this, is the live bar situation. So that parents could sit someplace on their phone or at home and watch their kids play. We can set that up. How much would that cost?
It shouldn't cost us
for
anything.
For us to set up, and how quickly could we set something like that up?
I'm going to touch base with Kevin today. Kevin and I have been talking about this. He's going to talk with Eric Brewer because of the fiber optics that come out of the emergency or hazmat building.
Okay.
And then we were also talking with Comcast from a commercial standpoint to put a modem in that would give us a direct line. When we looked at this 2 years ago, we didn't have that infrastructure in place,
right,
and the cost was cost prohibitive to do it. So that infrastructure has now changed. So getting an answer from Eric on what we might be able to do is one strategy. The other is getting it from Comcast. I hope to get Kevin today to find out what that is. And then once we get that set up, the idea with Live Barn was it's supposed to cost the rent owner nothing. They'll take care of the cost within reason. Well, the cost of the old one 2 years ago was way beyond anything they were going to pay for. But typically, they're just putting in a basic cable line, and they pick that up. So there's no cost. It's still the same the way it was. To us, should not be. In a sense, you then, who has a child participating in figure skating or whatever, you buy a subscription.
It's a subscription fee for parents if they want to watch.
Yeah. And the arena, even though it's minimal, we get some cash flow on that side of it. But then,
well, I'm less concerned with that. Obviously, most of this angst is about people dropping off their kids and not being able to watch them play hockey. I mean, they're playing hockey.
Yeah.
So if there's an alternate solution where they can at least sit outside in their car, assuming they can do a Wi-Fi connection.
That's one of the big concerns, and this goes to high school football, is a lot of these schools are going to start live streaming their games. Well, now the issue is, are the parents and spectators more safe watching them as a group wherever they are, whether it's a bar in their town or their house as a group of 25, 50 people congregating together, or in a more controlled situation at a stadium where you control where people sit? And that's my feeling about school right now too. The kids are probably safer in school because they are controlled with their masks, they're separated compared to running around during the day. I went to lunch at the mall the other day, and there was somebody, I say which school district, there was like 10 kids together, and they were there eating lunch right beside each other. Well, the purpose of not being in school is to be separated from these kids because they can't practice social distancing, but they're out together during the day and they're doing school together at home.
The Live Barn will give people the opportunity to watch. How and where they watch it, how many people, those are personal choices.
Yeah.
Giving them access to that, now that we have the infrastructure which didn't exist before, gives us another option for them. I hope it's shorter. I know today they're voting on, 2787, which is supposed to be addressing occupancy. That's only coming out of the House. And we all know it's probably going to go to the Senate, it's going to go to the governor and all that kind of stuff. But they're working on trying to expand that occupancy. They started talking about it yesterday on the floor, and they moved it to this morning. I think there'll be a vote this morning sometime. So we're all watching what's coming out of the House of Representatives regarding that. But it's pretty much only talking about school sports. And of course, the clubs like the Badgers and whatnot are asking, what about us? It'll probably include that too. But there's also the overlap with the food and the beverage industry because that 50% makes sense for them too. So, I think there's a lot of parallels that are running right now on how fast it moves and what the governor will or won't do is going to be the question. What can we do to help give them access? We give them the access to LiveWire. If they choose to buy the subscription, that's their choice. We're providing that opportunity, and I think we should. But up until 2 years ago, the cost was ridiculous.
Well, I'm highly in favor of going in that direction, just like us video and roof things. I think we're going to stop this. We're seeing the future. I think the technology is the way to go. If nothing else, COVID has exposed our limitations to be able to communicate and effectively interact with people. And if we can do things like set that up, I'd love to see a proposal and a cost and see if we can't find some money to help make at least that happen in the interim while we're trying to figure out.
We'll be interested in for October through the beginning of March, and then once everything's over, there won't be any interest in much. It's a limited thing as to what they're doing. We're the bottom of a cereal bowl that's out in the middle of nowhere. They didn't have infrastructure. I mean, it's a tough situation even in a cell signal down there. So we're working on this. I guess I'll bring that to you. We're working on it. I hope there's some more answers. Definitely for the end of the week. That's where we are on that. So that said, we need to get the word out in regards to the reopening. Anything we can do to help get the word out to the public so that they're prepared coming in, trying to use the facility so that they're not surprised. I mean, everyone knows the world's different right now. They try to minimize that experience where, they're just trying to come in to do something. We've got steps that have to be in place. Limits that we can do, another thing they have to wait.
Well, do you have any suggestions on what method we should use rather than the 6 people who are watching this right now?
Anything we can do with the
people in the room, but whatever you think we need to do, let us know and
anything
we'll
we can
help
do with the
support
media
that.
along those lines. We're covering every other base that we can.
Okay.
The other thing I have is the Barn Bash, which is less than a month away, about 26 days away, 24 days away. And I've reached out to the band and these federal contact, but I've been watching them. They've been doing shows, but the ones I've seen the most of typically have a ticket collector. Along those lines, so they're controlling it. I actually tried to go to one of those Thursdays not too long ago, and I didn't have a ticket, and I couldn't get it. It was capped. And that's what they were doing. So our Barn Bash is free, and it's just wide open. And we've got 250 that we can spread out. Food truck, and putting all these things in place, and I'm just looking how aggressive should I get and start moving that, or should I continue to be conservative and think whether we should even pull the trigger on that? Getting close, we've got to make a decision on it. And I fell off my radar, quite honestly, a couple weeks ago. I just got kicked. Oh my gosh, that's coming up. So that's an error on my part, but I should have been talking about this 2 or 3 weeks ago.
My opinion is probably staying the same from the food truck festival is if someone doesn't want to attend because they don't feel safe, then they don't have to. I mean, I would like to see the event. I like to see things take place, I'm happy whenever I'm able to drive around, I'm seeing the kids playing sports, whether it's limited or whatever, but if they don't have to, if someone doesn't want to go because they don't feel safe.
There's just no way for us to know whether they're 250 or 100 or 400. I mean,
Yeah.
We just don't know. There's no way to control that. That's the only kind of thing that's out there for us. So by putting the event on, because a platform for a stage, a tent.
You'll probably get more than 250 because people will want to go.
Yeah, I know that. That's where we start testing that goes against what the maximum effect. So that's consciously making a decision about going to the event.
Well, that's our maximum.
Okay.
Some people have other maximums.
So that's just for the passport order.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is at this point, we still have the governor's mandate regarding outdoor activities being at 250. I'm not aware of any event being directly shut down by the state police because of that, but go against the governor's mandate. Where does that leave us as far as, from liability? I mean, from the COVID thing, once again, someone would have to prove that they got COVID from someone at that event. Right. But I guess the question is, what would the governor's wrath be if we had an event that had more than 200?
Are these 250 including staff and police officers?
The vendors, everybody.
Is it the same for restaurants? I didn't think kitchen staff was counted for in there. 50.
I think it's a little different. I think you're right on that.
25%.
That's
Seating-
a little
seating
different. I'm not
capacity.
sure exactly what the logic is on why that is that
Okay.
way, but I think after a conversation about the kitchen is not part of the front of the house.
Certainly, every organization's indoor big fall events are all being canceled.
That's the previous
And
thing.
outside, obviously, all the fairs were canceled for August and September. I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent on it, but I don't want to get sideways.
The RF theater is going to play here in September, it's by particular reservation, so it's outside. They're controlling again, they're not, they're doing something, but they're controlling.
I don't know how we could.
How they're going to do it, I mean, that's what they're promoting.
Anything you can you can possibly think about is have just, no charge, but people lists.
Limited. It's just like when they click into Home Depot or Walmart, they're counting
There's too many ways into that park to be able to do that.
down the heads.
It's impossible.
Almost on 1,000 people.
I know. It's crazy.
Come on.
I'm just-
Don't even start to talk about the logic of all this.
There's the governor's side of it, there's the PR side.
Yeah.
I just looking for, I'm happy to make it happen, but I just want to know that, we're not.
So if we were to put a yellow or the orange fence up, let's just say the orange fence around where the park, where the barn bash is,
Uh-huh.
and as Jack said, click 250 in and stop people. If they go up by the pool and sit and listen, is that part of the,
More than 6 feet. You can spread out.
I mean, so
I think you take the position that that's.
we
not
could limit it
part of
to the actual
The actual
field, but if somebody gets there,
Have better ears and you can hear further away.
I'm saying tonight, I'm moving forward. I'm just thinking-
Let's give it a shot. I mean, I'm okay.
I can do it.
you probably have to get your numbers with, hey, we're gonna have 2 food trucks, each have 4 people, that's 8.
Yeah, I gotta know all that stuff, yeah.
Because then you can know how many people we have someone click in.
Yeah.
Because if the food trucks are inside the yellow tent, if someone's outside listening by the pool and want to walk down and get food, they have to wait until, it's like you said, no different than waiting in line at Lowe's to get in when they're clicking you in or not.
And we're not gonna have the resources to run it.
We're just talking half the side of your.
What's the date, Jackson?
26th September.
Yeah, my only concern is, we've been trending in the wrong direction with a 7-day % positive action. And that's where the governor's already put us on a watch list with 8 other counties. We were down under 5. 2 weeks ago, we went to 5.3. Last 7 days, we were 5.7. Friday, I expect that to dip down again as I'm tracking the numbers a little bit. If we're still substantially above that, then that's where
That's 3 weeks from this Saturday.
people could say, I'm hoping, I think we're trending, I think we're gonna trend back down again. But that's the only thing where the governor could say, what are you doing holding a thing and we're 500 or 1,000 people there and your numbers are moving in the wrong direction. That's my only concern, the optics of that. But I'm in favor of going ahead and seeing where it goes, and we'll track these numbers, and hopefully we'll be in good shape, and we'll say we put as many controls as we could to keep it at,
Which is what we're responsible.
yeah, so, and hope that people are responsible and safe.
What if someone put a third party form in to have a peaceful protest at the barn bash that night.
I don't have an answer to it. I'm just trying to run our region.
Depends on if they have paintball guns or not.
You could have more than 250 there, I would think.
Okay. So yeah, any help you can help with the release, and I got a, that's all I got.
Actually,
Any other department head report? We'll move to solicitors.
We need an executive session for personal matters and litigation matters.
Any questions? All right. Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Mann?
just a couple of things, and, Dan, you talk about getting people a bit on work. I mean, a 55-page RFP to take Japanese knotweed and dead trees on Bridgewater Crossing. I mean, I don't know what kind of response we're going to get. I mentioned this to Garen, and there's like 2 pages that are relevant on the landscaper just wanting to bid on this job. Are we driving people away from submitting proposals or not? I mean, I don't know. If I'm a first-time landscaper and I look at this document to bid for a job, I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anybody, but
Garen,
I know there's some mandatory stuff, but it's got all the union wages and, prevailing wage stuff and resolutions that go back signed by.
Yeah, there's a lot of boilerplate stuff in there. I think what we can maybe do, there's a mandatory walkthrough on the 15th. I can maybe see if we don't get a large turnout for that, then we can look at go about drafting this and putting something that's a little bit easier to get through.
Why is it, is it, that stuff have to be in there so that people understand that there has to be a prevailing wage and has to,
Yes, there's a lot of stuff that's mandatory to be in there. I think Commissioner Manning's probably point is initially it might deter someone away to look through the 55 pages, but at the end of the day, those are things that are legal requirements through the contracts.
I assume that, but again, if there's a lot of landscapers out there. I don't know how many people bid, but probably only somebody who's bid in the past and understands his boilerplate can do that. So it's just one example, I think, of
it's
the
probably
bureaucracy gets overwhelming for me.
it's probably going to have to be a larger landscape company that could handle this because of the machinery it's going to need to be brought down there. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think there's anything in there that, I know some of our contracts, we don't want them to bring in subcontractors, but I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing subcontractors.
No, that's allowed in this one.
Lawn care landscape companies actually do tree removal as well. So if someone that does have an interest in doing what is proposed in that, they can subcontract a tree service.
Would the subcontractor have to come to the walkthrough as well?
No, they would fall underneath the contract.
I wasn't sure if something goes wrong, it would just fall underneath.
It would go underneath the general contract.
But if they take a tree out, we don't allow.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, our agreement is going to be with the person who bids, not their subcontract.
I mean, it's like 2 pages of the relevant scope of work, the technical requirements, and then the rest is a bunch of. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that. But I just think we've been frustrated at times. I think there's enough people to bid on projects. I'm not just talking about the work that you're involved with, Tim or anybody else, but they go out and you see this stuff and go, geez, no wonder nobody wants to deal with the work for the county.
With that being said, I know you spend an awful lot of time down there.
Mhm.
Obviously, you look through. Are you happy with?
The scope of work, yeah. I mean, all of the Japanese stuff, not we being a big thing, but that we were down there again yesterday. Taking a look at it. I mean, most of this part of this phase for this thing is simply getting rid of all the dead stuff, right? And the invasive stuff.
I just don't want to see something. I don't want to.
No,
have someone remove something, then you guys.
No, it looks good. Then we'll figure out what phase 2 is. We plan it with, that's more maintainable than what we inherited. The only other thing, I've gotten a couple of calls, among the many things we aren't responsible for is political signs. Somebody called and left a message saying that political signs are being stolen. It's on both sides. I just remind people that that is a misdemeanor. And if you steal multiple signs, that can become a felony. So I just ask people to be respectful during this election season and, refrain from the vitriol and the sign stealing that's taking place in a couple of areas. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
I don't have anything, so we'll move, is there any other business?
Any update on the CARES?
We received about 30 municipalities. We're cleaning up some applications from small business as they review, just turning in more documentation, getting a clearer picture. But ZNA has all applications, so they're reviewing those. And Brian will be here tomorrow to meet with some departments about internal requests. So
Have they met with the courts yet?
the courts will be tomorrow.
Any other business? Any audience participation? All right. Will there be a reason to reconvene from executive session?
No.
All right. Move into executive session, not reconvene.
Can you call Marie